Have you ever stopped and wondered why some days feel like they slip away in a blur? Why no matter how many notifications you check, shows you binge, or quick wins you chase, you still feel empty? There's a reason behind that, and it's far more powerful than you might think. You see, your brain is constantly seeking rewards, small bursts of pleasure that keep you coming back for more. And at the center of all of this is a tiny chemical that runs the show, dopamine. But here's where things get interesting. Dopamine isn't just about feeling good. It's about anticipation, about wanting something more. Every time you grab your phone to check a new message, open your favorite app, or take another bite of that tempting snack, it's dopamine that's making you crave it. The problem? The more you feed into those quick bursts of pleasure, the more your brain starts to expect it. And here's the kicker, it's never enough. This endless cycle is what psychologists call the dopamine loop. And it's one of the reasons we're more distracted, more anxious, and often less fulfilled than ever before. Instant gratification. That's the world we live in now. A world where everything is designed to give us immediate pleasure, but none of it lasts. The dopamine hit fades, and we're left searching for the next quick fix. But what if there's another way? What if you could break free from this loop, take control of your brain's wiring, and harness dopamine for something greater, something lasting? To understand this better, we need to go back to the basics of how dopamine works. Dopamine isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's crucial to our survival. Thousands of years ago, it drove our ancestors to hunt, gather food, and survive in harsh environments. Dopamine pushed them to seek rewards necessary for life, like food and shelter. Fast forward to today, and our world looks completely different. We don't need to chase our meals or build fires to stay warm. But our brains? They're still wired the same way. Now, instead of using dopamine to fuel survival, we've shifted its purpose. We use it to fuel desires, cravings, and distractions. Think about it. Social media notifications, the thrill of online shopping, fast food, video games, all designed to keep you coming back for more. It's not an accident. Companies have learned to exploit your brain's dopamine system, hooking you on the promise of instant pleasure. And it works. Each time you get that like on a post or score a new high in a game, your brain gives you a hit of dopamine, a momentary rush of satisfaction. But just like sugar, the more you consume, the less it satisfies. You need more and more and more. Before you know it, hours have passed, and you're left wondering where your time went. This constant pursuit of instant gratification is draining us of our energy, focus, and ultimately, our happiness. So how do we escape this trap? How do we shift from a life dominated by instant gratification to one filled with lasting fulfillment? The answer lies in delayed gratification. Delayed gratification is the ability to resist the temptation of an immediate reward in favor of a larger, more meaningful one in the future. It's the reason why people who work hard for years to build a business, master a skill, or transform their health often experience a deeper sense of satisfaction than those who settle for quick wins. But here's the challenge. Delayed gratification goes against our natural instincts. Our brains are wired to seek pleasure now, not later. And in a world that constantly bombards us with distractions and easy rewards, it's harder than ever to resist. Yet, this is where the true power of dopamine comes into play. You see, dopamine isn't just about quick hits of pleasure. It's also about motivation. When used correctly, it can push you to achieve things you never thought possible. Take a moment to think about your biggest goals. Maybe it's to get in shape, start a business, or develop a new skill. Whatever it is, achieving it will require time, effort, and most importantly, focus. This is where dopamine can be your greatest ally. When you delay gratification and focus on long-term goals, dopamine helps keep you motivated. Instead of chasing fleeting pleasures, your brain starts to anticipate the bigger reward, pushing you to keep going even when things get tough. But how do you make this shift? How do you retrain your brain to seek delayed gratification over instant gratification? It starts with awareness. The next time you reach for your phone or find yourself mindlessly scrolling through social media, stop and ask yourself, is this truly fulfilling? Or am I just chasing another dopamine hit? The key is to become conscious of these moments and to begin questioning the habits that keep you stuck in the cycle of instant gratification. Once you become aware of the cycle, the next step is to start rewiring your brain. And this takes time. The first thing you need to understand is that your brain thrives on routine. Every time you choose to delay gratification, you're reinforcing a new habit. At first, it might feel uncomfortable. Your brain is so used to the quick hit of dopamine that waiting for a long-term reward can feel like a struggle. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes. One of the most effective ways to rewire your brain is to set clear, tangible goals. When you have a specific goal in mind, your brain naturally starts to anticipate the reward of achieving it. This anticipation releases dopamine, but in a much healthier way. Instead of the quick, fleeting pleasure of a social media notification, you get a steady stream of motivation that pushes you to work towards something meaningful. Take exercise, for example. At first, the idea of working out might not seem as appealing as watching a show or playing a game. But over time, as you start to see progress and feel stronger, your brain begins to associate exercise with a sense of accomplishment. The dopamine you once got from quick distractions is now being redirected towards something that benefits you in the long run. Another powerful strategy is to break down your goals into smaller steps. Each time you complete a small task, your brain releases a small amount of dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and motivating you to keep going. This creates a positive feedback loop where the more progress you make, the more motivated you become. And as you start to experience the rewards of delayed gratification, you'll find that the pull of instant gratification weakens. Think about how this applies to other areas of your life. When you invest time in learning a new skill, at first, it might feel like you're getting nowhere. The process is slow, it's frustrating, and there are no immediate rewards. But over time, as you start to see improvement, as you begin to understand things you didn't before, your brain begins to associate that learning process with satisfaction. Each breakthrough releases dopamine, and soon you start to crave the progress itself, not just the end result. This is why successful people, athletes, entrepreneurs, artists often talk about falling in love with the process. They've trained their brains to find satisfaction in the journey, not just the destination. And this shift in mindset can drastically improve the quality of your life. When you stop chasing immediate pleasure and start focusing on long-term growth, you unlock a level of fulfillment that quick hits of dopamine can never provide. But this isn't just about achieving big goals. Delaying gratification can improve your everyday life in ways you might not expect. It can help you build better relationships, increase your self-control, and even improve your mental health. Let's take relationships, for example. In today's fast-paced world, many people expect instant connection, instant validation. We swipe through dating apps, text multiple people at once, and expect sparks to fly immediately. But meaningful relationships, whether they're romantic, platonic, or familial, take time. They require patience, understanding, and the ability to resist the urge for constant validation. When you practice delayed gratification in relationships, you're investing in something deeper. Instead of seeking quick emotional highs, you build trust, understanding, and connection over time. And that kind of bond is far more rewarding than the fleeting excitement of a new match or a quick text reply. It's about playing the long game, the one that brings true fulfillment. The same principle applies to your personal habits. Delaying gratification strengthens your self-control, a skill that can have a ripple effect across all areas of your life. Self-control is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Every time you resist the urge to give in to temptation, whether it's skipping a workout, procrastinating on a project, or indulging in unhealthy habits, you're reinforcing your ability to stay disciplined. Over time, this builds resilience, and resilience is key to achieving anything worthwhile. In fact, there's a famous psychological experiment that perfectly illustrates the power of delayed gratification. It's called the marshmallow test. In the 1960s, researchers placed children in a room with a marshmallow and told them they could either eat it right away or wait 15 minutes and get 2 marshmallows. What they found was fascinating. The children who were able to wait, to delay their gratification, went on to have better life outcomes. They were more successful academically, had better relationships, and were even healthier. Why? Because they had developed the ability to resist temptation, to think long-term, and to focus on bigger rewards instead of settling for what was immediately in front of them. And the good news is, this ability isn't something you're either born with or not. It's a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed. But let's be real for a moment. It's not easy. We're living in an age where everything is designed to distract us, to pull us back into the cycle of instant gratification. Our phones, apps, and social media platforms are built to keep us hooked, to give us constant dopamine hits. So, how do we fight back? How do we build the discipline to delay gratification in a world that's constantly tempting us? The first step is to reduce the number of distractions in your life. You need to create an environment where it's easier to focus on your long-term goals. This might mean deleting certain apps from your phone, setting time limits on social media, or even scheduling specific times to check your messages or emails. The less you're exposed to distractions, the less tempted you'll be to give in to them. Another important strategy is to set clear boundaries for yourself. When you know what your goals are and what actions are aligned with those goals, it becomes easier to resist temptations. For example, if your goal is to get in shape, set a non-negotiable rule that you'll work out at a specific time each day, no matter what. If your goal is to be more productive at work, create a routine where you work on important tasks first before checking your phone or emails. But even with the best strategies in place, there will be times when your willpower is tested, times when you're tired, stressed, or overwhelmed, and instant gratification seems like the easy way out. In those moments, it's crucial to remind yourself of your why. Why are you choosing to delay gratification? What's the bigger reward you're working toward? Visualize that reward clearly in your mind. Feel the sense of accomplishment, pride, and fulfillment that comes with achieving it. When you focus on the long-term reward, it becomes easier to say no to the immediate temptation. Your brain starts to associate the act of resisting with something positive. And over time, this rewiring makes delayed gratification feel more natural. But this doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, one that requires consistency and patience. And this brings us to perhaps the most important point of all. Be kind to yourself during this journey. It's easy to get frustrated when you slip up, when you give in to instant gratification, even though you know better. But remember, this isn't about being perfect. It's about progress. Each time you resist temptation, no matter how small, you're building that muscle of self-discipline. Each time you choose delayed gratification, you're taking one step closer to a more fulfilling life. So don't be discouraged by setbacks. Instead, view them as opportunities to learn and grow. Every mistake is a chance to reflect on what triggered it and how you can do better next time. Over time, these small improvements add up, and before you know it, delaying gratification becomes second nature. And here's the best part. Once you start experiencing the rewards of delayed gratification, you'll never want to go back. The sense of accomplishment, the deeper connections, the improved focus and mental clarity, these are the things that truly improve the quality of your life. They give you a sense of purpose, of direction, that instant gratification can never provide. Imagine your future self, not the version of you that chases every fleeting pleasure, but the one that has built something meaningful, the one that has cultivated discipline, focus, and resilience. How do you think that version of you feels? Probably calmer, more grounded, and more in control. That future version of you isn't overwhelmed by distractions. They aren't constantly pulled in a million directions by short-term rewards. Instead, they are focused. They are moving toward a goal, and every step they take is intentional. You can be that version of yourself. In fact, you are already on the path by simply understanding how dopamine and gratification work. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You need to put it into practice. And one of the most powerful ways to do this is by setting up systems that support your long-term goals. Let's talk about habits. Habits are the backbone of your daily life. They're the small, automatic behaviors that, over time, shape who you become. The key to mastering delayed gratification is to create habits that align with your long-term goals. And here's the thing about habits. Once they're ingrained, they require very little willpower to maintain. It's not about constantly battling temptation. It's about designing your life in a way that temptation becomes less relevant. How do you create these habits? Start small. Choose one area of your life where you know instant gratification has been holding you back. Maybe it's your health, your productivity, or your relationships. Now, set a clear, achievable goal in that area. Let's say you want to exercise more consistently. Instead of making a vague resolution to get fit, break it down into a specific habit you can stick to. Maybe it's committing to a 20-minute walk every morning. It's not overwhelming, and it's something you can do every day without too much effort. The key is consistency. The more you repeat a behavior, the more automatic it becomes. And as that habit takes root, you'll find that it becomes easier to delay gratification in other areas of your life too. Why? Because you're training your brain to associate effort with reward. You're teaching yourself that patience and persistence pay off. Now let's talk about one of the biggest obstacles to delayed gratification: procrastination. We've all been there. You know you should be working on something important, but instead, you find yourself scrolling through your phone or getting lost in a Netflix series. Procrastination is the ultimate form of instant gratification. It gives you a temporary escape from the discomfort of doing something hard. But here's the catch. The longer you put off the task, the more daunting it becomes. And in the end, you're left with more stress and less time to get it done. The good news is, there's a simple trick to overcoming procrastination. Just start. Sounds obvious, right? But it works. The hardest part of any task is the beginning. Once you start, momentum takes over, and it becomes easier to keep going. So, the next time you find yourself procrastinating, don't think about finishing the task. Just focus on starting it. Set a timer for 5 minutes and tell yourself you'll work on it for just those 5 minutes. More often than not, you'll find that once you've started, you'll keep going. And this brings us back to dopamine. Starting a task, especially one you've been avoiding, can be uncomfortable. Your brain would much rather you do something easy and pleasurable. But here's the interesting part. Once you push through that initial resistance, your brain starts to release dopamine. It rewards you for taking action. So, the act of starting, even though it's difficult, triggers the very chemical that will keep you going. This is why action is so powerful. It creates a positive feedback loop. The more you take action, the more motivated you become. And over time, your brain begins to crave the satisfaction that comes from making progress rather than the short-lived pleasure of distractions. But what happens when things get tough? When you hit a roadblock or face a setback? This is where most people fall back into the cycle of instant gratification. They hit an obstacle, and instead of pushing through, they reach for the easy escape. Their phone, a snack, a distraction. The key to overcoming these moments is to change the way you view obstacles. Instead of seeing them as signs that you're failing, see them as opportunities to grow. Every challenge you face is a chance to strengthen your resilience, to build the mental toughness that will serve you in the long run. And here's a little-known fact about dopamine. It's not just released when you achieve a goal. It's also released when you overcome obstacles. That's right. Your brain rewards you for pushing through difficulties, for sticking with something even when it gets hard. So, the next time you hit a roadblock, Remember that on the other side of that challenge is not only progress toward your goal, but also a dopamine reward that will keep you moving forward. But what about when the goal seems too far away? When the reward feels too distant to keep you motivated? This is where breaking your goal into smaller milestones becomes crucial. Instead of focusing solely on the end result, set mini goals along the way. Each time you reach one of these milestones, you get a burst of dopamine, which reinforces the behavior and keeps you motivated to reach the next one. This approach keeps you engaged in the process and makes the journey toward your larger goal much more manageable. Think of it like climbing a mountain. If you only focus on reaching the top, the climb can feel overwhelming. But if you break it down into smaller sections and celebrate each time you reach a new point on the trail, the journey becomes much more enjoyable. And before you know it, you'll look back and realize just how far you've come. One of the most powerful examples of this is seen in athletes. Elite athletes don't just focus on winning championships or breaking records. They focus on daily practice, on small improvements, on mastering the fundamentals. Each workout, each drill, is a mini goal that brings them one step closer to their ultimate goal. And each time they complete a practice session, their brain rewards them with dopamine, reinforcing the behavior and keeping them motivated for the long haul. This is the essence of delayed gratification. It's about shifting your focus from the immediate, short-term pleasure to the long-term rewards that come from consistent effort. It's about learning to enjoy the process, not just the outcome. And once you make this shift, something incredible happens. You start to feel more in control of your life. Instead of being pulled in a million directions by distractions and temptations, you become the one calling the shots. You decide where your attention goes. You decide what's worth your time and effort. And that sense of control is priceless. It's one of the reasons why people who practice delayed gratification are not only more successful, but also happier. They aren't constantly chasing the next dopamine hit. They aren't slaves to their impulses. Instead, they're building a life of purpose, one small step at a time. So what does this mean for you? It means you have the power to take control of your brain's dopamine system. You have the ability to rewire your brain for success, for happiness, and for fulfillment. It won't happen overnight, and it won't always be easy. But with each small step you take, with each temptation you resist, you'll be building a future that is far more rewarding than anything instant gratification could ever offer. But there's something else we need to address: the role of our environment. Your environment plays a massive part in shaping your behavior and determining whether you'll choose instant gratification or delay it. Think about it. We're constantly bombarded with choices, notifications, and temptations. You might have the best intentions to focus, to be productive, to delay gratification, but if your environment is full of distractions, it's like trying to swim upstream. This is where many people go wrong. They rely solely on willpower to resist distractions, but willpower is a limited resource. It's not enough to just try harder. If you're constantly in an environment that triggers instant gratification, you're setting yourself up for failure. You need to make the right choices easier, and that starts by designing an environment that supports your goals. Take a look at your daily surroundings. Is your phone always within arm's reach? Do you have apps and notifications constantly vying for your attention? Is your workspace cluttered or set up in a way that makes it hard to focus? These small details matter more than you think. When you remove temptations from your environment, you make it easier to stay disciplined. And when the right choice becomes easier, you're more likely to make it. So start small. Maybe you turn off unnecessary notifications or put your phone on Do Not Disturb during work hours. Maybe you tidy up your workspace so it's more conducive to focus. Maybe you set up specific times to check social media or emails so they don't become constant distractions. These small changes can make a huge difference in your ability to delay gratification and focus on what really matters. But there's another, deeper level to this idea of environment. It's not just about your physical surroundings. It's about the people you surround yourself with. Have you ever noticed how your behavior changes depending on who you're with? If you're around people who value instant gratification, who chase short-term pleasure and avoid discomfort, it's much harder to stick to your long-term goals. You might find yourself giving in to temptations more easily or justifying poor choices because everyone else is doing it. On the flip side, when you surround yourself with people who value discipline, who are focused on growth and long-term success, it becomes easier to adopt those same behaviors. Their habits and mindset rub off on you. This is why it's so important to be intentional about who you spend your time with. You need to create a social environment that supports your goals, not one that pulls you away from them. This doesn't mean you need to cut people out of your life, but it does mean you should seek out relationships that help you grow. Spend more time with people who inspire you, who challenge you, who encourage you to be your best self. And when you do spend time with people who may not share your goals, be mindful of how their influence affects you. You can still enjoy their company, but stay committed to your own path. There's a concept called social contagion, which refers to how behaviors, emotions, and even habits can spread from one person to another. Studies have shown that if your friends or family members engage in unhealthy behaviors, you're more likely to adopt those same behaviors. But the reverse is also true. If you surround yourself with people who are disciplined, focused, and goal-oriented, their behaviors are likely to rub off on you. So, take a moment to reflect on your social environment. Who are the people you spend the most time with? Are they helping you move towards your goals, or are they pulling you away from them? If you want to improve the quality of your life, it's essential to be around people who inspire you to delay gratification and focus on long-term rewards. Now, let's talk about another crucial factor in this process: your mindset. You see, the ability to delay gratification isn't just about resisting temptation in the moment. It's about having a bigger perspective on life. It's about understanding that the discomfort you feel now is temporary, but the rewards of pushing through that discomfort are long-lasting. This requires a shift in your mindset. Instead of seeing discomfort as something to avoid, start seeing it as a sign of growth. When you feel the urge to give in to instant gratification, recognize it as an opportunity to strengthen your self-discipline. Every time you resist temptation, you're reinforcing the neural pathways in your brain that lead to long-term success. But how do you develop this mindset? One powerful way is through the practice of gratitude. Gratitude helps you focus on the positive aspects of your life, even when things are challenging. When you cultivate gratitude, you train your brain to appreciate the progress you've already made, rather than constantly seeking the next dopamine hit. Gratitude also shifts your perspective from scarcity to abundance. Instead of feeling like you need to chase every short-term pleasure, you start to realize that you already have everything you need within you. This reduces the urge to seek external validation or distractions. You become more content with the process and less focused on immediate rewards. One simple way to practice gratitude is to keep a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. These can be small things like the warmth of the sun or a good conversation with a friend. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to focus on the positive, and it makes it easier to delay gratification because you're no longer constantly seeking external rewards. But gratitude is just one part of the puzzle. You also need to cultivate patience. Patience is the ability to tolerate discomfort without giving in to the urge for instant relief. And in a world that's constantly pushing us to move faster, to want more, and to seek immediate satisfaction, patience is a superpower. One way to build patience is through mindfulness. Mindfulness helps you stay present in the moment rather than constantly thinking about the future or what you're missing out on. When you're mindful, you're able to observe your urges without acting on them. You can feel the discomfort of wanting something immediately, but instead of giving in, you can sit with that feeling and let it pass. Mindfulness is like a muscle. The more you practice it, the stronger it gets. And as your mindfulness grows, so does your ability to delay gratification. You become more aware of your triggers, more in control of your impulses, and more focused on your long-term goals. So, if you want to drastically improve the quality of your life, start by cultivating patience and mindfulness. Practice being present in the moment, even when it's uncomfortable. Practice sitting with your urges instead of acting on them. And over time, you'll find that your ability to delay gratification becomes stronger and more natural. But here's the thing, this journey isn't about depriving yourself. It's not about never enjoying the small pleasures in life. Delayed gratification doesn't mean you can't ever indulge in a treat, relax with a show, or enjoy the present moment. In fact, when you master the art of delayed gratification, those moments of indulgence become even sweeter. Why? Because they're intentional. You're no longer mindlessly chasing pleasure, you're choosing it, and that makes all the difference. The key is balance. You can still enjoy life's pleasures, but you do so with a sense of control. You're no longer at the mercy of your impulses. You're in charge of when and how you experience joy. And when you approach life with this mindset, you'll find that the quality of your life improves in ways you never imagined. So what does it all come down to? It's about taking control of your life by mastering your impulses, building habits, designing an environment that supports your growth, and surrounding yourself with people who inspire you. But most importantly, it's about understanding that the quality of your life is directly linked to your ability to delay gratification. Think about it. Every choice you make, no matter how small, either brings you closer to your long-term goals or pulls you further away from them. Every time you choose to delay gratification, you're investing in your future self. You're creating a better, stronger, more fulfilled version of you. And that version of you is worth the effort. But here's the real secret. The joy of life isn't just in achieving the goal. It's in the process of getting there. When you learn to love the journey, the discipline, the growth, the small wins along the way, that's when everything changes. Because the truth is, life is a series of moments. And when you focus on making the most of each moment, you realize that the destination is just a bonus. The real reward is who you become in the process. Now, let's talk about the deeper, often overlooked aspect of gratification. Many people assume that instant gratification is always bad and delayed gratification is always good. But that's not entirely true. It's important to understand that not all immediate rewards are negative, and not all delayed rewards are positive. What really matters is whether the gratification serves your greater purpose. For example, some instant gratifications can be aligned with your goals. Think about how rewarding it feels to do something creative, like painting, writing, or playing an instrument. In these moments, the gratification is immediate. You feel joy, flow, and fulfillment. But this type of instant gratification isn't a distraction. It's a reinforcement of your deeper values. It's helping you grow, learn, and express yourself in meaningful ways. The same can be said for moments of rest or relaxation. Sometimes, delaying rest can be counterproductive. Your body and mind need time to recharge, and giving yourself permission to take breaks is essential for long-term productivity and well-being. So, don't fall into the trap of thinking that every moment needs to be about delayed gratification. It's about balance, knowing when to push forward and when to step back. On the other hand, not all delayed gratification is beneficial. Some people fall into the trap of endlessly postponing their happiness, thinking that they'll only be happy when they reach a certain milestone, when they get the promotion, when they make more money, when they find the perfect relationship. But this kind of thinking can lead to a life where you're always waiting for the future and never truly enjoying the present. True mastery of gratification means knowing how to enjoy the journey while keeping your eyes on the bigger picture. It's about finding contentment in the present while working toward a better future. It's about recognizing that happiness isn't something you'll find at the end of the road. It's something you can experience along the way. This brings us to a key question. How do you know if you're on the right path? How do you balance the pursuit of long-term goals with the need to enjoy life in the here and now? The answer lies in alignment. When your daily actions are aligned with your values and your long-term vision, you'll naturally experience both short-term joy and long-term satisfaction. So take a moment to reflect on your values. What matters most to you? Is it personal growth, connection with others, creativity, contribution? When you know what you truly value, it becomes easier to make decisions that align with those values. And when your actions are in alignment with your values, you'll find that the need for instant gratification becomes less powerful. You're no longer chasing fleeting pleasures because you're already living a life that feels meaningful and fulfilling. This is the essence of a high-quality life. It's not about depriving yourself of pleasure, nor is it about indulging in every desire. It's about making intentional choices that bring you closer to the life you want to live. It's about being in control of your impulses, yes, but more than that, it's about being in control of your purpose. When you live with purpose, you're no longer swayed by the whims of instant gratification. You're no longer chasing the next dopamine hit because you're already engaged in something deeper and more meaningful. And here's the incredible thing. When you live this way, you'll find that gratification, in its truest form, isn't something you have to delay. It's something that's woven into the very fabric of your daily life. Think about the most fulfilled people you know. They aren't the ones who are constantly chasing short-term pleasures, nor are they the ones who are endlessly delaying their happiness in pursuit of some future goal. They are the ones who have found balance. They know when to work hard, when to rest, when to push through discomfort, and when to enjoy the fruits of their labor. This is the life you're building for yourself. By mastering your impulses, by designing an environment that supports your growth, by surrounding yourself with people who inspire you, and by staying true to your values, you are creating a life of both joy and purpose. You are creating a life where you don't have to choose between short-term pleasure and long-term fulfillment because you've learned how to integrate both. And this is where we come full circle. Remember, the quality of your life is determined by the quality of your choices. Every day, you have the power to choose. You can choose instant gratification, which may bring temporary pleasure, but leaves you feeling empty in the long run. Or you can choose delayed gratification, which may require patience and effort, but leads to lasting happiness and success. But here's the most important part. This isn't about perfection. You don't have to get it right every time. Life is full of ups and downs, and there will be moments when you give in to temptation or lose sight of your long-term goals. That's okay. What matters is that you get back on track. What matters is that you keep moving forward, one small step at a time. So take a deep breath. You're on this journey for the long haul, and every choice you make is bringing you closer to the person you want to become. The future version of you is cheering you on, knowing that the effort you're putting in today will lead to a life that is rich, fulfilling, and deeply rewarding. You've got this. The path to a better life is right in front of you, and it all starts with your next choice.